So now, a few weeks later, we're now getting ready to move out of that first apartment, and we're going now on the 7th floor. And so we move into the apartment, and I remember just, again, not feeling settled, not feeling homey, not feeling stable in this place. Because I was just like, we're not gonna be here forever. It is what it is. And a couple of months, we're gonna be like, we can't afford it, and we gotta go somewhere else. And at this point, I'm on the verge of pretty much getting ready to be homeless again, and it is what it is at this point. I guess that's how I felt back then. And so in the home, I remember my mom and my stepdad always arguing. They was always arguing about something, and some big arguments. And I was arguing with my mom a lot. I started to be a lot more reactive to things, And me and my little brother, we would fight a lot. And school and things that were happening at school became more conflicting. I mean, there'll be times I'm walking home from school and just getting into stuff with people, trying to stay out the way, but I just felt like trouble just kept finding me. It was just something always going on. And growing up in a neighborhood like this, and even areas like 56, 58 Terrace, you would never think, based on where I'm coming from and my circumstances, that I would ever decide to work in law enforcement, because that was outside of my view of what I wanted to do. In fact, my family weren't very career oriented, right? We never talked about career choices and aspirations for what we wanted to do. And I think it's mainly because our judgment and their judgment was clouded with the constant conflict and traumas that we were going through at that time. So I never thought. But that night, when I had that encounter with that police officer, it changed my life. The way he spoke to me, the way he got down on my level, and I thought, I would never forget it. That day, that night, in the calm of my thought process, I said to myself, would I ever become a police officer? Is this something? And even then I thought, no, man, it's so far from my thinking. I tell you what, after that experience with that police officer, I never forgot, and I never counted it out. And I think I knew that one day that it could have been a possibility. But the one thing I always said, that if I ever became a police officer, that I would have the same amount of impact 10 times over with the people in the community, because we were growing up in these communities, we were constantly disconnected from law enforcement. No one ever stopped out and played with the kids or played basketball or stopped to talk to us and tell us about their job and what those parameters were. I never knew what that was, what it could have been. But that encounter there opened up my eyes to something that I thought would have been fulfilling. Maybe there was somebody that needed to hear from me that they were worth it and they had purpose and they had a reason for living. And I wanted to be that person. I wanted to pass that on. And one of the things in law enforcement, especially, and any social career, is that when you make contact with people, you got to remember that some of those encounters echoes far beyond your imagination, years ahead, and you don't even realize it. Because for me, that was an experience that I just never forgot. And so all those challenges and all the experiences that I've been through, the neglect, the abuse, the trauma, the uncertainty, the inconsistent moments that I've had in my life, not having the means, experiencing poverty, hurt, loss, all contributed to this purpose, goal-driven, oriented mindset. It was all for a reason. It was all for a purpose, right? If I never experienced not having, I probably would not understand the true values of having. If I never experienced isolation and secludity, maybe I wouldn't understand the value of having a village and a community around me. Like my church, for example, and the people at my church. And those people that individually came into my life that were not blood, but family as a way of choice and how they've impacted my life. I would have never understood that completely. And now, even with, at the time, the absence of my father, my biological father, and the presence of my stepfather, I truly understand the core values of fatherhood, having 2 kids now. And kind of basking in that, the role of fatherhood, I understand it more now. Even when I look at my kids, I look at my children in their eyes and tell them how much they're purposed and valued. I really know what that means. I really know what that feels like, you know. And being in the atmosphere of a deteriorating marriage, or, you know, where my mother and my stepfather never worked out eventually and separated. While marriage has its challenges, because of that experience, I pursued that lifelong commitment. And I wanted that for my family. I wanted that for me. And nobody's perfect at it. We all make mistakes. But inevitably, because of that experience, it placed a real value on what I have now. You know, looking back now, if I had an opportunity to give any advice to my younger self, I would say, you're okay, you're loved, you're worthy, and you're purposed for something. Because I think no matter how young you are and what part of life you're experiencing, everybody needs that reminder. And I know I did.